We are here meeting as the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association, and I am their chairman. The main reason why they are here is to celebrate the resounding victory of President E.D. Mnangagwa in the just ended harmonized elections. We have always stood by our president. We were at Masvingo War Veterans Congress in 2018. We could see the indications from that particular time that the revolution was having challenges. We decided to take the bull by the horns as the war veterans to make sure that we preserve the legacy of the revolution. We are happy that after a hard and difficult struggle, we managed to succeed in 2017. We were central to the restoration of the legacy of the Zimbabwe Revolution. We were the leading charges in the fight for the preservation of the legacy of the Zimbabwe Revolution. And we were very happy that our candidate, President E.D. Mnangagwa, emerged as the leader of Zimbabwe in 2017. We saw him win the first election. We were very happy with the way he started shepherding national affairs, in particular the revival of the comatose Zimbabwe economy, which was almost dying under the weight of illegal American sanctions. Through his creative leadership, he has restored national confidence through the promotion of pro-business policies, which is seeing capital from both within Zimbabwe and from outside begin to change the fortunes of the Zimbabwe economy on a scale which Africa has never known, has never seen. And the results are all there. And when it came to the last harmonized elections, he won with a resounding endorsement from the Zimbabwe electorate. 70% of the Zimbabweans voted in support of the ruling party, in support of our candidate. We are happy that he could score such a victory, and as the war veterans, we have always stood by him. We feel vindicated that he's doing a good job, which says when the judgment of the war veterans is given, it has got wisdom which comes from experience, which comes from the participation in the struggle. We just don't judge easily. We judge wisely too. So this is the reason why we are here to celebrate the win of our candidate, the win of our party of the Zimbabwe Revolution, ZANU-PF. We know that there are efforts to try to tarnish the victory of our president by detractors and those who wanted to cheat in the elections. They wanted to win by cheating, but they forgot that we are war veterans. We fought a war. We are always vigilant. We were aware, and our systems were, the integrity of the systems flushed out those who wanted to cheat. So our victory is fulsome, it has integrity, it can be challenged because it came from the Zimbabwe voter, each in his own right, going into the booth to endorse ZANU-PF and President Mnangagwa as a candidate. And nothing is going to change that. We actually are wondering why a certain individual wants to become the president of SADC when the heads of state who make SADC have already made a decision that the elections were free and fair. Individuals in SADC have no power more than the heads of state of SADC who are endorsing this election. All the presidents, including the chairman of the SADC, President Lorenzo, have endorsed the outcome of the Zimbabwe election. So there can be no groups, and there cannot be outside powers, and there cannot be any individuals who try to say the decision of the Zimbabwe people is somehow not right, his decision is the right one. Who are you to challenge the decision of the Zimbabwe people? We also want to say to the president, we have been at the forefront of creating conditions of wealth in Zimbabwe. We brought the army which defends the people of Zimbabwe in their day-to-day activities. Zimbabwe Defense Forces. It's our product. We are very proud of our defense and security establishment, which came from our sacrifices. We are very happy with the independence which we brought to Zimbabwe. We are also happy with the policies which were central to the defense of the Zimbabwe revolution since 4 decades ago. We are also happy with the achievements which we helped spearhead, like in the educational field, where Zimbabwe is now the leader in Africa. We are the last born, but we are the most educated. It came from our revolutionary experience of organizing the people during the war. We are very happy that we restored the land to the people, and now we have a clever president who is implementing policies like Puputsa, which is making sure that there is eradication of hunger in rural areas. Yes. Every household is going to become prosperous and it will never starve. This is what our president has been doing. Never again shall Zimbabwe import food. We shall farm not only for 40 million Zimbabwe people, but we shall farm for 7 billion other consumers of the global market. This is what our president is doing in agriculture, irrigation everywhere, so that we farm the whole year round. We are also having our president making sure that climate-proof, climate change is made to withstand the ravages, and our agricultural system is made to withstand the ravages of climate change. This is what our president is doing in the agricultural domain. But perhaps his most sterling achievements are in the mining sector, with it already in a very short period of time exceeding $12 billion. We have started exporting lithium in Zimbabwe. Already in the last 4 months, more than 100,000 tons of lithium, processed lithium, is leaving Zimbabwe. We are going to 1.5 million tons of lithium, white gold, leaving Zimbabwe. These are the policies of President E.D. Mnangagwa. He is getting the best possible investors in the world to come to Zimbabwe. Mamonya achewa yema investors. This is a good man. He knows what is good for the country, and we war veterans, we have always championed him. We feel proud about these achievements in the mining sector. He has also created a small to medium enterprise gold industry. We all know that was the decision of our Congress at Masvingo to allow young people to dig gold, because this is the tradition of Zimbabwe for the past 800 years. They were not allowed before Masvingo Conference of the war veterans. We went into cabinet, we argued. Now they are contributing 2/3 of 40 tons of gold, young people all over the country. Our currency is strong, it can no longer be buffeted by America because of gold. Gold is better money than the US dollar. And Zimbabwe is digging money. We dig money in Zimbabwe. And that decision came from the war veterans from Masvingo. So we make decisions which have got big scale implications for Zimbabwe. We don't make small decisions. We are always making decisions which have a big picture behind it. We decided in Masvingo that we wanted to revive the Zimbabwe steel sector in a big way. We said we must have carbon. Zisco must come back, but not the little Zisco, but a bigger industry. We are happy that at Manize, starting this December, Zimbabwe started producing 800,000 tons of steel, carbon steel. Without carbon steel, you cannot make progress as a country. It is the backbone of industrial development of any country. Now we have built the largest steel plant on the African continent, and the inspiration came again from Masvingo War Veterans Congress. So we are always doing things which have a big picture behind them. We are promising the president that we will make sure that that industry gets the support which it needs by lobbying within the country for better investment climate, strengthening the SME sector of gold, but more important, finding good partners and putting a regulatory framework which makes sure that the industry expands the mining sector. But more to it is that we are going to participate as the war veterans. This time, we want to be part of the bonanza of riches which we have helped create. We are very sure that we are good business people, because we could not have liberated this country if we didn't have a vision of what can be done in business, because that's what ultimately we're leading to. So in our last stages, in our 60s now, as we harvest the fruits of our years of sacrifice in politics and in governance, we also want to create companies, big banks, which have the trademark of the War Veterans Association of the War Veterans of Zimbabwe. We are able to do it, and we shall stand by our president in doing that. We will be creating companies, start-up companies, to participate in all the various economic fields we've been talking about, and to set up business enterprises which will help Zimbabwe produce made in Zimbabwe goods and services which are world class, which will be destined for the global market. Hatinoda kuita zvinhu zvechiruzevha ba, hatinoda kuita zvinhu zvemahungu. We'll be doing great things to make sure that Zimbabwe takes advantage of the global marketplace. So Zimbabwean products will be finding their way to department stores in other countries, and people will know that these are made in Zimbabwe goods, which are world class, coming from a very competent country. After all, we have educated a population which can quickly convert capital into profits. If you are a businessman, you come to Zimbabwe, our labor force is very competent, it's very organized, it's very disciplined, and it's very hardworking. But more than that, it's very creative. We want the creativity of the Zimbabwe labor force to take full advantage of our resources and to ride on the pro-business policies of President Mnangagwa to make sure that Zimbabwe will grow at between 10 to 20% per annum for the next 2 decades. We want to make sure that when we eventually go to heaven, we will report to the comrades whom we fought in Mozambique, in Zambia, in the various battlefields of Zimbabwe. We want to report that we finally achieved the prosperity which we were prepared to die for. Because the only reason why people sacrifice their life is for prosperity. I'm glad that after traveling the military road, after traveling the political road, after traveling the governance road, we are now at a stage where we can also travel the prosperity road. And we want our children to be beneficiaries of this spirit of enterprise, of creativity, of vision, which is the war veterans, so that they can stand proud about their parents and what they did to free Zimbabwe, by saying Zimbabwe is a prosperous country. That's why we are so happy that with our President Mnangagwa winning in a very big way and showing the global stage that Zimbabwe is a proud and confident nation which can do other things on a scale which Africa has never done before. And that's what President Mnangagwa is doing. So I want to thank the leadership of the association, which is here, the National Executive. I want to salute the provincial chairman who have stood through thick and thin with our president. I know what you have yet to go through to defend the candidates of our president against political headwinds. But today, you are vindicated. He has won and is doing a good job for this country. You are a brave son of the soil, in youth, in middle age, even now in late age. You are always standing by the good which Zimbabwe deserves. And our president is one of the good things which Zimbabwe deserves. I thank you. I want to add that in our deliberations, we want to remind Washington, we want to remind London, we want to remind Brussels that SADC is a creation of the Southern African National Liberation Movement.
Yes, yes.
It is a product of the frontline states who were at the forefront of the struggle of freedom against apartheid, against minority rule, against settler rule, against racist imperial control from the Berlin Conference of 1884 in Europe. These are the people, these are the organizations which created SADC. It does not belong to the EU. It does not belong to America. It does not belong to London. SADC is ours. They must keep their dirty hands away from our SADC. These people. They cannot try to steal our organization and try to turn it against us. It is our organization. They cannot use puppets, individual puppets, to try to become leaders of the sovereign elected presidents of the constitutional republics which are SADC. The leader is Cyril Ramaphosa, it's Hage Gop, it's Philip Nyusi, it's President Lorenzo, it's President Sululu from Tanzania, and these are the leaders of SADC, not some individual plugged from Norway in Zambia who wants to tell the heads of states how they should handle issues of SADC. We don't accept that as war veterans of Zimbabwe, and we are reaching out. We are reaching out to our fellow war veterans in the region. We have the network to make sure that this nonsense of individuals trying to usurp SADC is stopped. We want to hail the ANC for sending its own observer mission, led by Comrade Mbalula, to Zimbabwe to come and see for themselves. Who can now say what the ANC says in its own delegation is secondary to what an individual from Zambia is trying to say under the mantle of SADC, which does not belong to them. Mumba, SADC belongs to the National Liberation Movement, not to traitors of the liberation struggle. Keep your dirty hands away from our SADC. We also want to say, in similar vein, we shall be reaching out to our fellow national liberation movements so that the economic bonanza of the prosperity which President Mnangagwa is bringing to Zimbabwe becomes a feeding ground for them too. We want to show them that the land reform in Zimbabwe is rewarding the people of Zimbabwe with their prosperity. It is creating a genuine African middle class rooted in its resources in Zimbabwe. We are not going to become appendages or subsidiaries or subordinates to our national economies when we now control our resources. That prosperity is all there to see. That's why our economy is firm. We are creating a genuine African middle class which will be the most prosperous on the African continent. It will make our democratic systems very strong because we are building our own economy. We are also supporting our own currency by our own resources, particularly gold, because the history of Zimbabwe is the history of gold. We will encourage the president to plow more resources and to put more policies which encourage young people to produce more gold. If we produce more gold, we jump from 40 tons to 100 tons. Our currency will be strong because gold has been the currency for 5,000 years. The American dollar, which it once has only been the currency for 300 years. We were trading in this country before the American dollar was born. We used gold. So why should people now try to say American dollar is more important than Zimbabwe's gold? Gold is the real currency, and the president has hit the nail on the head by saying gold is going to support our currency. And we are very happy that we are the ones who legitimized the small and medium enterprise sector from the mushroom war. We were futuristic, and now the central bank is using gold to support our currency. This is a good thing. We want the president to continue to put more attention to gold production so that we use the currency of ages to support the prosperity of Zimbabwe and to maintain the buying power of the Zimbabwe dollar so that our people can enjoy their prosperity without the predatory machinations of the American and their sanctions. We will blunt their sanctions using our gold. So, on that note, I want to say, America, London, don't try to steal our SADC. It's ours. We keep your dirty hands away from our SADC. It's an African institution which will defend Pan-African values. It will defend the Zimbabwe revolution. It will never defend the racism which is associated with your countries. It will never defend the slavery which your countries carried out in Africa. It will never defend the colonialism which you did against African countries. When Europe became strong, it became an invader and played havoc on Africa. We will not allow this thing to happen again in Southern Africa. Never again will we allow neo-colonialism to rear its head. And the vote of the Zimbabwean people in the last harmonized elections is a strong affirmation that democracy belongs to the African people. It's our democracy. It's not a gift from the West. It is homegrown. We fought for it as young people. That's why we have the one-man vote we have today. Crisis Coalition in Zimbabwe, keep away from our SADC. And all the other NGOs which want to appeal to SADC. This is a product of the National Liberation Struggle. It's not yours. It's our own institution. Keep away from our institutions. So we don't want any interference of SADC by people who are beneficiaries of our fight for independence. They would not have been there, these black people who are fronting these organizations, because they were treated in a racist manner until we freed this country. When they speak good English in the CCC, it's because we sent them to school, we brought school to them. When we were young, we could not go to the same schools as they are going today, because school was for white or for a few black people. Now they use the benefit of what we provide them as independent countries. They want to abuse it and attack us, and attack our presidents, attack our systems, and abuse our SADC. We will not allow it. Crisis Coalition, Human Rights Forum, all these people who wanted to cheat in the elections by parallel tabulation of fictitious results. We say to them, keep away from the integrity of the National Liberation Movement. And we want to revive the cooperation and the coordination of the National Liberation Movement, which gave birth to the frontline states. We want to revive it and strengthen it and use it as a sledgehammer to make sure that those who have pretensions to neo-colonialism will never succeed again. So we are going to be very strong in cooperating with Frelimo in Mozambique, ANC in South Africa, SWAPO in Namibia, MPL in Angola, and Chama Pinduzi. We are going to be very strong to revive our historical cooperation, because it was our bastion against Western imperialism. It has been our bastion against neo-colonialism, and it has been the bedrock of the new prosperity which we are bringing, especially to Zimbabwe.